All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are connected. Welcome to MCJ Report. This is not a typical MCJ report, and it does not have a number. This is a general news updates, a general chat, a Q&A session, that sort of thing. We did it last week. It seemed okay, and we'll be doing this format potentially for the foreseeable future. As you know, we have a massive challenge on hand, which is, of course, getting rid of Dan in November. His colleagues, and I don't know if we can really call them colleagues. Is that the right word? Maybe there's a better word, but anyway, we'll leave that for another day. And we're doing everything we can for November. That's right, guys. So if you've just tuned in, welcome on board. We are live across 3 platforms right now. That's right. So we are on Facebook, Rumble, and on YouTube. So go ahead and say hello. I can see there's a bunch of you tuned in right now. There's Forge. How you going, my friend? Hopefully I see you soon. There is Simon saying good evening from Pakenham. How you going? Great to have you on board. There's Elias right there saying, what time does it start? MCJ Report every Monday night, 8 p.m. without fail. That's right. That's my commitment. Mondays, 8 p.m. If you want to go somewhere to listen to something, then you can come right here. There's Aaron. How you going? There's Betty. It's great to see you guys. I see a lot of familiar names on board. A lot of new names as well. There's Dean from Newcastle. How you going, my friend? There's Lisa, Dragon. Dragon is a good mate of mine. Great to see you. And looks like we have a little bit of a crowd here right now. So that is most definitely a great thing. A great thing. So just let me know that you can hear it loud and clear, and I'll get started with the show. So just making sure that we're all connected the way that we should be. And it looks like we are. All right, fantastic. All right, folks, I'm just going to run through a few headlines, and then we'll have a bit of a chat. But before I do, let me just give you a little bit of an update in regards to what we're doing this weekend. Alrighty, so you are all invited, no matter where you are. If you can get on down, then I encourage you to come on down. So exit plan for Dan. What's going on, guys? What are we up to? All right, so this Saturday, 12 p.m., that is the 6th of August. That's right, Sandown Park Hotel. We are officially launching our campaign for the seat of Mulgrave. That's right. Now, why is this significant? Because this is Dan Andrews' seat. As many of you are aware, our candidate for the seat of Mulgrave is our Deputy Leader, Aidan McClendon. He has a wealth of political experience under his belt, and I can tell you 100% that he is fired up and he cannot wait to get out there on the field. So guys, tickets are $20. It includes finger food, and all the proceeds will go towards our campaign. So please, share this with your friends, share it with your family. Everybody is welcome. That is this coming Saturday, 12 p.m. at the Sandown Park Hotel. And let's face it, guys, our backs are up against the wall. We must get rid of this man. We have no choice. It can be without question that the decisions of Daniel Andrews have resulted in immeasurable suffering for millions of Victorians. And you know what? We've been out speaking to people in his electorate in the seat of Mulgrave. That's right, the Mulgrave district. And I can tell you, he is hated. That's right, absolutely hated within his own electorate. And, well, I can see why. You look at some of the schools in Dan Andrews' electorate. I mean, these places, some of them resemble prison camps. I see that there's drug problems as well in the seat of Mulgrave. That's right, very apparent major drug issues. People are really hurting. And, well, Daniel Andrews, he couldn't care. So it's going to feel good to get rid of this guy, and I'm very, very happy to have each and every one of you on board the journey. So once again, this is Exit Plan for Dan, hosted by Freedom Party of Victoria, our official campaign launch for the seat of Mulgrave. So Dan, you better watch out, and it's this Saturday, 12 p.m, $20, can't go wrong. Proceeds go to the campaign. I hope to see you there. Alrighty, let's go through some headlines, shall we? Alright, who here saw this? What do you make of this? Bunnings Kmart hit pause on in-store facial recognition. This seems to be a growing trend around the world, that's right. Stores and commercial entities seeking to capture information about their clientele and the people who are shopping. Personally, I don't like it. I think what Bunnings and Kmart realized is that they pushed the button a little bit too early. I don't think Australians are quite ready to have their faces identified when they walk into a store. They might be ready to check in using QR codes and things like that, but the facial recognition, they might need a little bit more time for. Alrighty, so as you can see, there's a little bit of humor there on the show, but no, I don't like this whole facial recognition agenda. I think it's very much worth it for us as citizens to protect our privacy, and it's really nobody's business where we go to shop as long as we're buying things that are not hurting anyone. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? But you know, the more and more that I see these major commercial giants trying to introduce this type of technology, the more I feel motivated to shop at smaller stores, independent businesses, independent grocers. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? I think that personally the large chains are going to turn off a lot of people if they continue to go down this road. And I think it's something definitely worth pushing back against. I mean, this type of thing, coupled with other large stores no longer accepting cash, I think it's definitely cause for concern, and it's something that we all need to be aware of. Now, over the weekend, I went to Brisbane with Aidan, and we spoke at an event for the nurses in Queensland who were sacked for no fault of their own. Amazing, honourable people. All right, guys. Sorry about the delay there. That was a little bit unexpected. I'll just tell you what happened. Absolute cramp in the leg. Terrible, painful. Had to get rid of it. Didn't want to show that on camera. But anyway, we're back now, folks. So let me just get straight back into the news articles as if nothing happened. So as I was explaining before, went up to Brisbane, and one of the first things I noticed was at Brisbane Airport, they actually accept cash. In Melbourne Airport, they don't. That's right. So it seems that Melbourne, I think, is taking the lead on the whole cash ban. I think it's something to be concerned about. I consider that it is a very much basic right of all people to purchase things using cash without leaving a digital footprint. And I can tell you that I will personally be fighting very, very hard for that. And the whole team at Freedom Party is most definitely in agreement in relation to the cash argument. Let me just make sure that we're all connected. Let's see here. Facebook's still on. Yep, great. I can see 111 people there, and of course Rumble there as well. Someone said that I need lettuce. Alrighty. All right, now, who here saw this? Shrine lights for LGBTQ community inappropriate, RSL says. That's right. So it was basically arranged by the Victorian state government for the shrine to be lit up in the LGBTQ pride colours, and it did not go ahead because there was major backlash from the RSL. So instead, I believe the Victoria State Government made the decision to raise the flag at the shrine, and I can see that a new colour has been added in here. I'm not sure if that black stripe was there before, but maybe it was, and if it was, you can inform me, because I don't know. It's very hard to keep up to date with these types of things. So I went down to have a look, and it does indeed seem apparent that the flag was raised there, the pride flag. And I guess my thoughts on it, to be frank, I don't really see why the flag should be raised. Now, of course, we respect all of our veterans regardless of what their sexual preferences are. If somebody served, as far as I'm concerned, that is an honourable act, and one that we should most definitely recognise and pay our respects to. Okay. Now, on the other hand, I do consider that the shrine should not be a place for a sexual expression. I think we can all agree that service is service, and sorry, could you please hold on a second? Okay, it looks like we're having some technical issues here. So let me just bear with me for a second. Let me just make sure that we're all connected. Let me just make sure. Just give me a bit of a thumbs up, because some of you are messaging me telling me that there's no picture, or there's no sound, or that it's not working. So I'm just going to wait for you to start commenting. And let me just wait for a few minutes. I'm just going to keep waiting until I see some comments coming through for you to let me know that it's okay. Yeah, we haven't had a smooth ride today on MCJ Report. This is a first. This is a first. All right, let's see. It looks like it's probably working now. All right. Quite a few of you saying that it's all good and good to go. All good now? All right, fantastic. Great. Alrighty, so where was I, folks? Lost my train of thought. All right, shrine for LGBTQ. All right, so yeah, I see a few problems with it. All right, first of all, I don't think anybody cares what the sexual preference is of anybody that served. We respect people who sacrifice and fight for Australia. Number one. Number two, I do not believe that the shrine is a place for sexual expression of any nature. And number three, the only flag, in my very, very firm view, that should be raised at the shrine is, of course, the Australian flag that represents everybody in Australia, regardless of who they are, what their background is, what they may or may not do behind closed doors. And that is my very firm stance. And I think that we need to stick to the basics, guys. Not everything needs to be politicized. especially a place, of course, such as the Shrine. Now, what do you think about that? Do you agree with this sentiment? Maybe you don't. Maybe you disagree with me. That's also okay. But nonetheless, put your thoughts in the topics because I'd really like to know what you think. All right, moving along here. Check this article. This article is a write-up on us, or more specifically, our Deputy Leader, Aidan McClendon. The blocker versus the whisperer, prize fight for preferences before the state poll. Now, some of you may have tuned in last week. I published a 35-minute video in detail regarding a guy called Glenn Jury who refers to himself as the preference whisperer and the preference deals for cash business that he is able to operate in Victoria. If you didn't see the video, go and check it out. I went into quite a lot of detail describing exactly how political hopefuls are able to fork out quite a few $1,000s, reported to be as high as $50,000, in order to essentially buy their way into the upper house in Victoria. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, Freedom Party of Victoria will not be engaging in these preference deals for cash. So anyway, we've had a bit of a story written up on us here by Rachel Eddy from The Age. Gave us a pretty good run here. I'm going to read to you. Micro parties campaigning for freedom and conservative family values are planning to swap preferences at Victoria's election in November after the Andrews government retained the group voting system that is widely viewed as flawed. Okay, so that's it. This is exactly what parties that share similar political ideological outlooks should be doing. They should be swapping preferences. Okay, parties that are ideologically opposed should not be preferencing each other on the Victorian group voting ticket, for the reason being it creates the environment whereby voters cast their vote for a party they think they're supporting, only to have their vote transferred to another party that they would never vote for in a million years. Okay, and this is due to the fact that here in Victoria, it is parties that number their preferences. Voters are actually deprived the right to number their preferences when voting above the line on the upper house ballot ticket. Sounds a bit confusing maybe. I will be doing many more videos to describe exactly how it works and the scope for exploitation. But think about it like this. If you think that you're supporting a certain party due to its stance on a certain topic, but actually your vote goes to the opposite, you'd be pretty upset. Okay, so swapping preferences with like-minded parties is ethically the right thing to do by the voters. So that's what we're doing. Okay, so yes, that was correct there, of course, by Rachel Eddy. Goes on to say, Aidan McClendon, who is running against Premier Daniel Andrews in Mulgrave for the newly formed Anti-Lockdown Freedom Party. All right, so of course they like to throw in the anti-lockdown, but the truth is we stand for a lot more: jobs, homes, families, Australian-made products, standing up for our nurses, our frontline workers, and so much more. Goes on to say, has pitched himself as a, quote, preference blocker who will undercut the business of renowned, all right, preference whisperer Glenn Jury. I think probably the inverted commas were meant to start at renowned. But anyway, I'm just going to keep on reading. And there's Glenn right there saying, keep it quiet. Keep it quiet. And there's our man right there, Aidan McClendon. All right, so it goes on to say, Family First and the Australian Federation Party confirmed they would work with McClendon, while the Democratic Labor Party, Health Australia Party and Victorians Party said they were negotiating with everyone. Sydney-based United Australia Party leader Craig Kelly ruled out any deals with Jury in Victoria and said he expected to team up with like-minded parties. So absolutely awesome. Craig Kelly, I commend you on making this decision to not exchange preferences for cash. And I'd like to absolutely give a shout out to Craig Kelly for making that stand. That is the right stand to make. So good on you, Craig. Just going along here, it says Jury, who also works in a taxpayer-funded parliamentary position for the Liberal Democrats, said he was not worried about McClendon. He went on to say, quote, I don't think the Victorian public has too much to fear about Aidan McClendon or his musketeers. God help us if any of these nincompoops get their backsides on the red leather, says Glenn Jury. Glenn Jury that catapulted Rod Barton into Parliament. That's right, Rod Barton, who cast the deciding vote on the Pandemic Management Amendment Bill to the Public Health and Wellbeing Act. That's right, Rod Barton that stepped out of a taxi straight into the upper house. Why? Because he forked out the cash. That's why. All right, so he's called us nincompoops here, but that's not the only thing that he said about us in the past. When we were going to start a party last year, RDA party, if you remember that, raise your hands. Glenn Jury weighed in with the age, and he said that we'd find it difficult to distill the, quote, divergent views of those protesting against lockdowns into a coherent political movement, labelled us as, quote, anti-vaxxer crackpots, extreme art anarchists, and some religious types and moderates, all right? So you can also add musketeers and nincompoops to that particular list of insults. So anyway, it's really great that here at Freedom Party of Victoria, we are negotiating our preferences in an ethical manner with like-minded parties. We will publish our group voting ticket ahead of time so that you, the voter, know exactly what you get should you decide to cast your vote for Freedom Party above the line in this year's state election in Victoria. Anyway, all right, moving along here. This is pretty interesting. Tim Smith, the Liberal from the lower house here in Victoria, is, quote, disgusted by Victorian Liberals' promise to legislate on emissions reductions by 2030. Now, Tim Smith has definitely been disgruntled with the Liberal Party for a fairly long time, and I don't blame him. The Liberal Party, of course, has not been very strong for quite a while, but particularly over the past 2 years with the lockdowns and the madness of Daniel Andrews with his wielding the magic wand over Victoria. But he's spoken out again, so have a look at this. Outgoing Liberal MP Tim Smith has declared he is, quote, disgusted by his own party's bold new climate stance, branding it reckless and desperate. So what does he mean by that? What he means by desperate is Tim Smith believes that the Liberal Party is trying to pander to effectively the left-wing voting base here in Victoria. Reckless and desperate. So essentially what Tim's saying is, well, the Liberals are not able to garner support organically, so therefore they're jumping on the carbon reduction narrative in order to appeal to a broader base of voters. And this decision could have been made due to, of course, many prominent Liberal MPs getting absolutely smashed in the federal election by the Teals. Moving along here, it says, the Victorian opposition this week has announced its new climate policy, which it will take to the November election. It is reckless and desperate, Tim, I agree with you. Promising to legislate a 50% emissions reduction target by 2030. Where have we heard that before? Maybe the Labor Party, maybe Anthony Albanese. Sounds pretty familiar. What do you think? The Andrews government already has a 50% emissions reduction target by 2030, but its interim target has not been legislated. It is also more ambitious than the federal government's target of 43% reduction by 2030. So there you go. The Victorian Liberals are outdoing the federal Labor Party that has a Prime Minister. But it goes on to say, but Mr. Smith, who won't be contesting in the upcoming state election after he crashed his car into the fence of a family home while drunk. I don't know if he was really drunk. He may have had alcohol in his system. But does that mean he was drunk? I don't know about that. I'm asking the audience, was Tim Smith drunk or did he simply have alcohol in his system? You know there's a difference, right? So Tim Smith said the policy would result in the closure of more coal-fired power stations. Well, that's it. So we've got one coal-fired power station closing after another in Victoria. There's no plan to replace this energy, as far as I'm aware, with a new energy source that is both efficient, cost-effective, and plentiful. Instead, it seems the objective of the government, or the proclaimed plan to tackle the ever-increasing energy prices in Victoria, is to simply double down, reinforce these emissions targets, and to continue closing coal-fired power stations. And I suppose along with that, we'll see many of our state taxes subsidising this energy, and I'm very concerned about what that will do to cost of living in Victoria. So I'd have to say that Tim Smith, he's hit the nail on the head. And personally, I think that it's a shame that Tim Smith is not running. I'd like to see him run, maybe not with the Liberals, but maybe with someone else. So Tim, if you're watching, I say that you have something to offer, and I don't think you should be hanging up your coat just right now. Keep on going, and I say give it another bash. Anyway, moving along to some international news. Now, I just want to read through this, and you tell me what you think about it. And I don't know what I think, so I'm more interested in what you think. Egyptian court calls for live TV execution of man who fatally stabbed a woman for rejecting him. All right, so Mohammed Adel's legal team is still fighting for him. The defendant's lawyer, Farid El-Deeb, said that his client would appeal the death sentence. So look at this. An Egyptian court has called for the broadcasting the live execution of a murderer who stabbed his classmate to death after she rejected his marriage proposal. According to The Independent, 21-year-old Mohammed Adel was found guilty of killing fellow student Nareya Ashraf outside the Mansoura University in northern Egypt last year. He was sentenced to death on June 28th, and now the Mansoura courthouse has written to Parliament to ask for his execution to be broadcast live on television to deter similar crimes from happening in the future. What do you think, folks? This proposal here in Egypt, do you think that it would deter others from doing it again? Or do you think overall that type of imagery would be detrimental to society? I think it's interesting sometimes to look at how other countries function in terms of their penalties for serious crimes. And I read into the crime committed. It was indeed extremely cruel and brutal. So what are your thoughts about that? Put your thoughts in the comments. Alrighty, folks. Alrighty, so that's the news for this evening. Now I'm going to start reading through a bunch of comments, and feel free to ask me questions. That's what I'm here for, just to have a bit of a general chat, answer questions. Everything is going super good on this front in terms of Freedom Party and where we're at right now. Alrighty, so Jess says, was he an Aussie? No, this actually happened in Egypt, okay? I mean, obviously these terrible crimes happen all around the world, so the crime remains the same, but of course what is different, the way in which certain countries respond to these offenders. In Egypt, committing a crime like that will more than likely result in the death penalty. So what do you think about the death penalty? It's been outlawed in Australia, and if I'm not mistaken, in order to bring back capital punishment, I'm fairly certain it would require a vote comprised of 2/3 of Parliament. Don't quote me on that, but I'm fairly certain that is in legislation here. But of course in Egypt they're saying, well, let's take it one step further, make an example out of this guy to put on record that anybody that thinks about committing this crime, this is what's going to happen to you. There's D. Christensen there saying it was great to meet me in Brisbane. Well, it was great to meet you too. Thank you so much. I love Brisbane. Actually, it was the first time I've ever been to Brisbane, and it's beautiful. I mean, I can see why a lot of Victorians are moving there. Sunshine, cheaper property, lower cost of living. But in saying that, guys, if you're in Victoria, you're thinking about leaving, do not leave until at least after the election. We need as many of you here as possible for the fight to vote against Dan and his crooked colleagues, and of course, to join Freedom Party of Victoria so that we can all collectively play a role in restoring dignity to our state. We love Victoria, and Victoria is worth fighting for, regardless of what anyone says. All right, I'm just reading through the comments here. Let's see. And there is Kim there. How you going, Kim? June says it's not for entertainment and that it should not be televised. That's a very, very fair opinion, in my opinion, 100%. Just having a read here. Let's see. And there's Luna Bell. Great to have you there. Yeah, so I can see the televisation, not very popular with the MCJ audience, and I can totally understand why. Just reading through some comments here. So if you have any questions for me, please go ahead and put your thoughts in the comments. Kelly says, we need you guys, Morgan and Nick Patterson's court case to make a precedent. Yeah, absolutely. I'm supporting Nick Patterson. I think that he's a great guy doing a tremendous job. And he absolutely should be fighting for his right. And I'm quite confident that Nick will win. Nick is very, very savvy. I know that he's dedicated a lot of time to learning his way around the legal system. And there's Paul there asking, G'day Morgan, would you like a gin? And the answer to that is yes, of course. So a big shout out to Paul there from Deanswood Distillery, a great Victorian-based gin maker. So go ahead and look him up on Google. Fantastic gin. So go and get into it, guys. Kim says, tell us about the launch on Saturday. All right, so fantastic. This Saturday, 12 p.m., Sandown Park Hotel in Noble Park. we are launching our Mulgrave campaign. That's right. Now, a lot of political parties may not conduct an official launch for one electorate, but the reason we are doing this is, of course, the fact the electorate is currently held by Dan Andrews. That's right. So it's important to remember that Dan Andrews only received a small amount of people voting for him in the scheme of things. Yet the decisions of this man alone has inflicted destruction upon this state that I dare say is not measurable by any type of calculations, and the suffering experienced by many will continue for years to come. That being said, this level of injustice requires a proportionate response. So 12 p.m., Sandown Park Hotel, Noble Park, come on down. Entry is only $20, and that includes finger foods. And you'll hear from myself, you'll hear from Aidan, you'll hear from some other key speakers, and we will officially kick off our Mulgrave campaign. But you can rest assured that many other campaign launches will be kicking off very, very soon. Things are traveling very fast with Freedom Party of Victoria. Our team is rapidly growing. And of course, if you would like to become a member, head on over to freedomparty.net.au. And if you want to roll your sleeves up and become a candidate, then I want to hear from you. Now, let me just put out there our criteria for applying to become a candidate, and this is actually pretty important. And I really pay attention to this when I speak to people in relation to fielding candidates, and that is, if the motivation for wanting to run is to get into office and be a politician, then that is absolutely not the type of person that I want applying to become a candidate for Freedom Party. But if your motivation is you want to dedicate yourself to the cause, you want to fight for the dignity of other Victorians, first and foremost, before becoming a politician, then you are exactly the type of person that I want on our team. Does that make sense? So first and foremost, you should be focused on the cause, not getting into Parliament, okay? Getting into Parliament is secondary. Focusing on the cause and restoring dignity to our fellow Victorians is first. It's an interesting little paradigm there, and I hope that you guys understand that. Okay, so Sean's asking about tax. Well, it is indeed a fact that Victoria is the highest taxed state in Australia, and we can see why. Our government has no skills in relation to managing money, nor would they want skills. The go-to for the Daniel Andrews government is to simply privatise our public assets in order to fund whatever project is taking place at the time. And of course, the debt here in Victoria equates to more than Queensland, New South Wales and Tasmania combined. All right, so it's safe to say that our taxes are not invested wisely. The so-called Victoria's Future Fund, I dare say, will be an absolute disaster. And that's why we need new government, people who actually care about economics and people who care about crafting policies that incentivize local manufacturing, local jobs, local businesses, in order to get some products, say, moving out of Victoria, exported out of Australia, and to get some export dollars rolling in. That's what our state needs, okay? We shouldn't be privatising Vic roads and funneling that money into God knows what. Soundtracker says that government is a scam to steal your money. Well, a lot of taxation could most definitely be described as theft. We definitely need government, but government should be restricted, operate in the background, and should not be intervening in our freedoms, of course, our right to raise our families, our right to parent, and should not be interfering in, of course, our capabilities to run our own businesses. They shouldn't have the right to close our doors. And I tell you what, I've been looking into certain policy for alcohol manufacturers here in Victoria, and I can tell you policy is set up completely against the little guy. I was speaking to an alcohol producer here based in Victoria not all that long ago, and he told me that based on his liquor license, he could only attend 6 markets per year. Okay, so he could only attend 6 markets per year, and after that point, in order to sell his product, he needed to approach the big chains such as Dan Murphy, which of course will offer small producers very little in terms of profit margin. And it just seems to me that the big corporates are constantly whining and dining with ministers, politicians, in order to craft policy that is most favorable to their shareholders, whilst completely trampling over the little guy. So I'm going to be investigating this a lot more. It's not right. I don't like it. I dream of an Australia where the little guy has a hand up and is not confronted with layers upon layers of bureaucracy and unfair policy that seeks to keep the little guy little and the big guy big. Does that make sense? We're going to really get into this because I tell you what, I love our Aussie businesses, especially small to medium-sized businesses, and this is a huge, huge passion of mine to fight for Australian-owned and Australian-made. Anyway, that was a bit of a ramble there. There's Sharon there. Sharon, how you going? Great to have you on board. Kelly says that you believe in us. Thank you so much. Well, guess what? We believe in you. And I have no doubt, Kelly, that we are going to get our hands dirty in this fight together. And we're going to produce some great results for Victoria and the rest of the country. And there's Rebecca there. It's great to see you. Jess says Dan loves other people's money. Well, that's right. Aidan accurately pointed out that the only thing Daniel Andrews has ever mastered in his life is wasting other people's money. That's right. He doesn't spend our money well. He wastes it. Daniel Andrews is nothing more than a glorified office boy. He's never picked up a hammer. He's never run a small business and turned a profit. And if Daniel Andrews worked in the private sector, I dare say that his misconduct would have landed him in jail a very long time ago. That's right. And his negligence. And the fact that he would cost any private organization a lot of money. Daniel Andrews can't turn a profit. All right, and there's our Dragon there. How you going, my friend? Just having a read through the products. There's Dana there. Dana, we need to get scrutineers in every single polling booth, okay? So if you'd like to volunteer for Freedom Party to help be our eyes and ears on the ground, then go to freedomparty.net.au, click on the Get Involved tab, and register to become a volunteer, and also become a member if you haven't done that already. I hear what you're saying, Soundtracker, 100%. Kim says it's amazing he can say sorry and everyone believes him. I know. It's actually crazy. I think there's definitely a case of Stockholm Syndrome here in Victoria. And Stockholm Syndrome, of course, refers to a condition whereby certain people develop, I suppose, a manufactured bond between themselves and the person of whom is abusing them. And unfortunately, I think we have seen that develop on a large scale in Victoria. It's not good, it's not healthy, and we have to recognize that we're all Australian brothers and sisters in this. We have to be compassionate to everyone, and even if they happen to be lovers of Dan Andrews, they're still our Aussie brothers and sisters, and we need to have each other's back. Hey Lauren, how you going? Great to see you. There's Harps there. I see there's a few of you on YouTube right now. There's some funny comments which I can't read out, but if I'm laughing, and there's June there, looking a little bit disgruntled about a few things. I hope everything's going okay. And there's concern Nana saying great to see me today. Hey, it was great to see you. Thanks for inviting me. That's right. I was down near Frankston this morning, meeting some wonderful like-minded people, and I can tell you guys, there is a certain energy in the air. Change is coming, and it's the type of change that I truly believe in my heart is what will begin the process of restoring dignity to our state, and it will not be welcomed by the current breed of animals that work within the walls of our parliament, but it is most definitely something for we the people. There is Jefe Fumador. How you going, my friend? There is Tony right there. Tony, of course, is a member of Freedom Party of Victoria. So, guys, do what Tony does and head on over to freedomparty.net.au and become a member so that you can take part in this historic moment in Victorian history. That's right. Talking big, but I truly believe it. Just having a read through the comments right here. Just having a read through. Let me just see. What do we have? If anyone has any questions. Sharon said you didn't know I was in Frankston. Yeah. It was not my event. I was invited to an event, and I actually didn't realize it would be so big. It was such a pleasant surprise this morning where I spoke. I thought it was going to be a table of maybe 5 or 6 people to have a bit of a chat about some issues, but actually the whole cafe was filled with lovely people. So it was a very, very nice surprise. And of course, if you have a group of people that you meet with on a regular basis, if you would like me to come down and talk about certain things involving the state election, then make sure that you get in touch. You can send us a message via our website, freedomparty.net.au. Just click on the Contact Us button. And if you want me to come out and to address a group that you lead, then of course I would be more than happy to do it. I would very much like to hear from you. There's Karen saying that you love my work. Well, thank you, Karen, and I love yours too. And we're going to get stuff done, all right? We're not mucking around here. We are not mucking around. Krista says you're hanging out for a real change. Well, Krista, you are in the right place at the right time. Get on board, because I'm telling you, change is coming, and it's going to come soon. Thank you for everyone being here. Mitch says, where is Anthony Lev gone? Anthony is still around 100%. We'd very much like to get him in for a Lev report. But I talk to my buddy Anthony regularly. So he's doing really good. And you can most definitely expect to see him soon as well. Well, Aaron says you're glad they're easing up on the vaccine mandates. But I really have to think that here in Victoria, the only reason why we're seeing the easing up on anything is because there is a state election around the corner. I think if the election was in a couple of years from now, Daniel Andrews would probably be up to his same old tricks, locking us down, closing down businesses, and inflicting pain and suffering upon the population. So do not be fooled by the tricks of the government. It is all a tactic for the election. It all comes down to votes. It all comes down to votes. Alrighty. So there's Jess there. Thank you very much. And there's Maddis Max. How you going there? Just reading through some comments. There's Josh Brazil, a regular. It's great to see you, mate. Thank you very much. Don't believe Dan. That's right. And there is Anna saying you'll see me on Saturday. Okay, great. Guys, that would be amazing. I want to see as many of you as possible on Saturday. All right, so once again, write it in your diary. Send a message to a friend and your family. This Saturday, 6th of August, 12 p.m., Sandown Park Hotel. Tickets are just $20, and that includes finger food, exit plan for Dan, our official launch for the seat of Mulgrave. You'll hear from myself, our candidate for the seat of Mulgrave, Deputy Leader Aidan McClendon, who is going to do a phenomenal job. And I believe that this is 100% the man who is going to get rid of Dan. And I just believe it. I believe this is going to happen, and I want you to believe so that you can come down, get behind us, because this only works as a team. This will only work should enough of you get involved, should you volunteer, should you support this incredible movement. And this is so much more than a political party, what we're creating. This is a true movement, and it would not be complete without you. So before I wrap it up, guys, I want to see you on Saturday. Come on down, and looking forward to shaking your hand. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you for taking the time to watch. Morgan C. Jonas signing out.
Mm-hmm.